what they do, que so. Just like grip. Understand?
Let us begin. The veggie table of contents. I give you a part snippet. When the DJ start to spit it, I put the songs on wax. They want a couple pairs. Search the barrel for bad apples, but none is there. Now I plant seeds and bury the bone in different area codes on Blackberries, Macintosh or Windows. Easy appeal like bananas. The man with the plantain, keeping it organic over these golden beats. I am so sweet. I dip a grain, I'm known to rice on the beach. You can say I'm a fun guy, party in the plush room. You feeling blue in your small world, mushrooms. It ain't hard to tell a smurf from a gargamel. Father, son, zoo, strategy behind my artist sell. Protect your nectarine, cause all these crabs in the bucket just wanna see your record sales plummet.
That was my first time, like, really recording and doing anything like that. But I used to rap, and I used to rap just growing up. It was just a part of a part of the culture. So I had a couple of different groups, but at one point, like, right before, like right when I was in high school and getting out of high school, me and a couple of friends, we had a group called the Spooks, and it was 4 of us, and me and Ross, the dude that's in Binary Star, we was in that group, the Spooks, and a couple of months later, me and Ross went to prison, and so while we was in prison, I remember going to him and saying, "Yo, man, this happened for a reason. Like, we in here for a reason, like me and you. I'm like, we should come up with something, It's like the Spooks was like, man, that was the shit for us, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, we got to come up with something that, like, man, it's like it's dope. It sounds dope like the Spooks, you know what I mean? Because the Spooks was our crew, spontaneous people, and other kind of shit. And I went back to my bunk. We was on the yard. I went back to my cube, and I pulled out a dictionary, and I'm looking up like the duo, double, binary code, binary digit, binary star. I wrote that on a piece of paper, and I went out, and I was like, check this out. And then you look at the paper, and that's pretty much where Binary Star came from. We was locked up, and we was already rapping, but it was like, yo, let's do this. Let's do it in this context. And so we was in there talking about Binary Star. Nobody knew what we was talking about. It's like it didn't exist. It's not like we had songs or whatever, you know what I mean? Then when we came home from prison in 96, 97 or whatever, some of our homies that was still making music, my boy D, his name was Damon, but he started calling himself Decompose. He was like, when we was in high school, his name was D-Flat. Then he changed his name to Decompose. He's like, yeah, man, I'm out here making beats. I'm out here doing this. I'm doing that. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to do this. And, I ain't saying they was laughing at me, but it was just kind of like, man, you just got home from jail. How you going to do that? You know what I'm saying? It was like, who going to make the beats? I'm making the beats. Like, you ever made beats? Nope. But I'm making the beats, though, And, yeah, man, for me, I wasn't thinking like, oh, man, I got to work with this person. I got to work with that person. I don't even think like that. I'm thinking like, man, this is what I want to say. Man, I like that sound. It's like making a sandwich. You know what I mean? Like, man, this is what I like on my sandwich. I'm just making a sandwich that I like to eat. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it, But that's how Binary Star kind of came together, man. I came home. I'm like, Ross, like, we could, to get other people involved means they are part of it. It's one thing to say, I got a beat from this dude. I use that studio over there. But when you start, like, people start getting involved and feeling like, yeah, they start investing in their time and their energy and their art, their talent. Now everybody feel like, man, this is ours. This is our shit. You know what I mean? You know, and yeah, man, it's easy to make moves when you make a move with people who want to make moves. You know, whether, you know, I was living in Pontiac, and you know, cats that I grew up with, you know, like, man, I got love for where I came from, all the cats that I grew up with. When it was time to like shoot pictures, book shows, like people I knew just didn't know how to do that, you know what I mean? And so when I moved out towards Ypsilanti, you know, towards the university, then I just started meeting people who, you know, they knew how to build websites, you know, they knew how to do graphics, they knew how to book shows, you know what I mean? And so, you know, you start making friends with those kind of people, you know, and yeah, now, you know, now it's like I got friends that are photographers. They do shoot videos, they do book shows, and so now you can get more shit done because everybody around you is contributing to the movement, you know, whatever that means, you know. And yeah, man, that's kind of what it was, man, just branching out and just following the love, you know, like, you know, not trying to baptize nobody. Like, man, you hear this and you're like, oh, that's tight, like, man, then it's for you. I'm not trying to convert people to my sound, you know what I mean? It ain't even, man, it's a lot of shit out there, you know what I mean? Binary Star, born in Pontiac, light a cigar. The chief factories preparing the cars, work life very hard. From here to Rome, Hayes Jones let the metal spark, Pinklin in the ring, fighting heavy arms, swinging like Tiger with pars, Silver Dome, Lions, hike, Berry Yards. Giant or dwarf, the problems are large, when the monetary far, and a damn thing was like Hardy Har. Bribing the Knox, the Protestants fraud, the liquor stores and churches line Boulevard, no pulling library cards. No dollars for art, the scholarships cost the military. No dollars for art, the scholarships cost the military guard. Mamas cry very hard, please don't let me die in her arms. Buried in cemetery parks, the mortuaries dark from street beef like dairy farms. My diet was hog, I'm getting high with the squad, soon to be X-rated like the tribe of Shabazz. The word freedom was a live course, with penitentiary guards in the slam like Gary Hart. Legendary bars like Iron Starks, solitary thoughts carry my heart. A cage, now you know what is canary darts? Do I cite a mirage, science of God, like it or not, bite of the bark, we next to bat like a Stephen King St. Bernard. Poetry, my very art, recording behind the garage, honest expressions from the very start is bittersweet like cherry tart. Check. Reality harsh, conquistadors not sorry to march, Wolfman jackheads die in a car. No time to resolve, that's how to revolve, light years apart, and that's only the half. Binary Star. Like, just, man, that's, you know, telling my story, but telling my story with rhymes, you know what I mean? So it's like, I could just tell you, like, Binary Stars from Pontiac, you know, Binary Star, or I could tell my story rhyming with Binary Star. Like, that's like the challenge for me, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do I use the English language, you know what I mean, to capture what's going on around me, you know what I'm saying? Binary Star, born in Pontiac, light a cigar. What's that? Man, I'm always reading something. I was talking to my son. I just brought this back from Seattle. It's the Mammoth Book of Native Americans.
What were you doing in Seattle?
I was out there for Master Monkey Day, but I did some poetry out there too.
Okay.
But this book, because I was just talking to my kids on Skype, and one of them is doing a project on Native Americans, and so I was reading something out of here about Pontiac, actually. And this, my daughter is doing a project on slavery, and so I was like, yeah, you could start where the slaves got freed, or where people started freeing the slaves, the abolitionist movement, but, you know, like, she was like, yo, I'm trying to learn where I came from. So I was like, yo, don't start at slavery, because that's not where we came from. You know what I mean? Let's go back so we can see where we came from, and then what happened in between now and then. You know, so this right here is called The Servants of Allah, and it's African Muslims enslaved in the Americas. It basically talks about, you know, slavery in North Africa and Islam in North Africa, and you know how basically the Moors, they were in Spain for a long time. The Muslims was in Spain for a long time, for like 800 years or something like that, you know. And when the Muslims finally got kicked out of Spain, this is like around 1492. You know what I'm saying? Not exactly, but by the time the Muslims got kicked out of Spain, and this, you know, and the church is back in power. I mean, they had this fever. They had this, like, I mean, they had this, basically this fuck Islam mentality, because they, you know, y'all been ruling our country for 400-500 years, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So when they go to the New World, you know, what I'm understanding out of this book is the Spanish didn't want to take slaves from North America, because they just had this long history with the Muslims. You know what I mean? So they were getting their slaves like imported from somewhere else in Europe. You know what I mean? The English and the French, however, they had a different relationship with the Africans. You know what I mean? They didn't have the Moors wasn't in their country for 800 years. You know what I mean? So they was taking slaves straight from West Africa. You know what I mean? And that was problematic for the Spanish. You know what I mean? But it's just understanding history in the context of Islam, and the role that it played in it, you know, even the role that it played in the slave trade, in the role that Islam had on a person itself. Like, for example, one of the traditions in Islam is to make Hajj. So there's some people, I'm not saying everybody did, but like, just like I explained to you earlier, like when you go to Mecca and you might see Chinese people or Russian people or Senegalese people, but like the Arabic language is kind of like, it kind of like uniforms everybody, and you know what I mean? Like, imagine people coming from Africa, Algeria, wherever they was coming from, and they was making Hajj. It's the same concept. So a lot of Africans that were Muslim at that time, I mean, they were considered to be like global citizens. They traveled from North Africa to Saudi Arabia. I mean, where the average European, for example, probably didn't even leave their hood. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, at that time, there were slaves who were Muslims who were more traveled and more educated than the people that was enslaving them. They might have spoke a different language, but they was well-traveled people. You know what I mean? They had a whole different experience. Their lifestyle was, if you understand how Muslims eat, what they believe, how they get down. So that's what I mean, to remove them from a situation like that. Now you feeding them slop. Now they in chains. You know, so what's crazy is, I got this other book called it's about the rebellion in Bahia. This is in South America. But they wasn't allowing slaves to speak their own language. Like, a lot of slaves came from different tribes. They spoke different languages. But a lot of those tribes were Muslim. So when they were allowed to congregate, they was congregating on Yom Juma. They was organizing rebellions on Friday. They was doing stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because even though they all spoke different languages, that's what I was saying. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Like, they could all communicate on that. That's one of the things that they had in common. You know what I'm saying? And so, and you know, to understand the crucial role that Islam played in a lot of movements, the hip-hop movement, the civil rights movement. Some shell-shocked. So many males boxed. I'm getting 20 letters a week from friends, family, and female cocks who used to pump love, not blood, into my heart well. Cry. Sex was hot, but those tenderoni tales God send man, I'm about to do this like this. Because, like in my book, like I got rhymes in my book. I got rhymes in my book, but I got poems in the book, you know what I mean? So, the lyrics is being a black youth, you know what I mean? But so the album is called Baby, but, you know, the poetry is going to be called Placenta. Poetry, lines, and creative expressions not she told after. So, some of those is on beats, you know what I mean? So it's poetry, but it's like I'm still rhyming, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna do this with this beat. Yo, I never felt cops on the streets thinking we all sell rocks. And who made you the judge while I drew your 12 watch? Me, that's who. Hell not, but it felt this hot. Black, white, Latino, and Asian persuasion in the melted pot. Some shell shocked. So many males, boxed. I'm getting 20 letters a week from friends, family, and female cocks who used to pump love, not blood, until my heart well. Clot. Sex was hot, but those tenderoni tales got sent a fella 12 o'clock. Meanwhile, the OCJ bellhop pushed the car carrying books down our cell block. It took a couple months of being jail locked to graduate from the mailbox love stories to the more developed plots. I started reading. I read a lot. Iceberg Slim selling twat. Dino Goins, black girls lost on ghetto blocks. Dope gang twisted in my head like dreadlocks. Old man in my cell, Pop. Funny dude reminded me of Red Fox. He said, you already know these stories, regurgitated ghetto glories. When will it stop? His words like jewels on a mental shelf dropped. It challenged me to stay on top, so I said to myself, swap. I traded in the slim books for one of the thickest books the car held and stopped. It was Roots by Alice Haley. I remembered it was on the tail I watched. The book was more detailed. Props. I started reading books like Uncle Tom's Cabin, Congo, Booker T's autobiography, Malcolm X, Farad. Old thoughts racing through New Testaments like Sonic the Hedgehog. Copied the Merge Circle salve, letter for letter, dot for dot, before my left hand cramped and my leg popped. Studied Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali wearing the fez top. I learned the Quran was hot, Muhammad was the prophet, Mecca was the spot, the Kaaba was direction for Salat. After I met Ak, it felt like I met God. My head rocked. Like earthquakes that bedrock, minus Barney and Fred squad. Heaven sent calm as I elevated pale palms, thinking how in the hell do I tell moms? That's like one of the drinks, you know, in my book, you know what I mean? But just, you know, poems, but it's like autobiographical stories and shit like that. Coming soon to a library, bookstore, record store, bookshelf, tablet, near you know what I'm saying? Stay tuned.